Hey, what's up, Lorain County High School basketball fans? Welcome back to another episode of In the Paint. It's brought to you by our friends at First Federal Savings of Lorain. We're here live at a new spot in the Chronicle Telegram. You're getting to see a little bit of the inner workings of the CT here. But nonetheless, I'm your host, Rocco Nushi, with the one and only Kristen Bauer behind the camera as always. Things slowing up on the court a little bit here around the holidays, obviously with the kiddos on break and everything like that. Still have some holiday tournaments, some things like that. The Streak Ball Classic will be up in Sandusky in the coming days. WEOL will have live coverage there, but more on that here in a second. Let's jump back to last week and last weekend, actually, and see what kind of happened on the high school hoop scene here in Lorain County. We'll start with the boys, where Avon Lake on WEOL this past Friday night, they sneak by Lorain 54-52 in a thriller that you heard live on WEOL. Senior Peyton Lurch for the Shoremen had a pair of go-ahead free throws late in the game. He finished with 10 points. Senior Tyler Burke, he led the way for Avon Lake. He had 18 points as the high-scoring man. And Avon Lake, you know, football-wise, they really stand on their defense. Well, they're doing that on the court as well. Some really huge marquee defensive stops down the stretch of that game against Lorain. Cameron Moore and Brandon Bromley specifically had a really good defensive effort as a pair down the stretch of that game against Lorain. Got some really key stops. So Avon Lake, we know they can score the ball, but they can play some really good defense as well. Avon Lake now 2-3 on the season after that win against Lorain. It was a big pick-me-up win for the Shoremen. How about the Brookside Cardinals? They stay hot. They get an overtime win over Bay, 85-78. Now, wasn't the prettiest win for Brookside as they blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, but they stuck with it. Credit to the kids and Coach Larry Babix for kind of just hanging in there after blowing that lead and managing to pull out the overtime win. Mason Wechter, with his team down 3 at the end of regulation, he gets fouled on a three-point attempt, and you got to imagine lots of nerves and everything like that. Going to the free throw line, all eyes on you. You got to make all 3 to send the game to OT, and Mason did just that. So shout out to the young Wechter for sending the game to overtime. And then big brother Nolan, he led the way for Brookside. He had 35 points, including 6 3-pointers. Those Wechters, man, they can shoot the basketball, I'll tell you that much. Some sharp-shooting brothers. Nolan was also 9 of 10 from the free throw line, so he came up big at the charity stripe as well. So the Cards now 5-1 on the season, as a really tough non-conference schedule seems to be paying off right now for Brookside. So credit to the Cardinals for playing some good basketball here to start the new season. Last Thursday night, it was North Ridgeville rallying past Westlake 68-54. And you look at that final and say, wow, 14-point win for the Rangers. They must have dominated. Well, didn't start like that. They were down 11 at the half. Westlake, they just couldn't miss, folks. And that was kind of the message from head coach Ben Chase to his young Rangers, saying, hey, they got hot for a half. Let's stick with it. And that's exactly what North Ridgeville did. They outscored Westlake 39-14 in the second half to get that 14-point win. Jaden Parrish, he was the high point man for North Ridgeville. He had 19. Colin Jones pitched in 12 as well. So the Rangers, they're 4-1 on the season, off to a good start. Shout out to the North Ridgeville Rangers. Let's head to the girls' side, where I know Columbia Lady Raider head basketball coach Corey Taylor is going to like this. His girls off to a 7-0 start. So how about Columbia to start the year 4-0 in conference play? They took care of business against Firelands last week, 57-33. Didn't really start great for Columbia. A bit of a slow start, but they played the defense. They scored 20 points off of 26 Firelands turnovers. Elise Champagne, kind of the star of that Columbia roster, well, scoreless in the first half against Fireland. So credit Onyx Lopez and her Falcons defense for stepping up. But Elise found a way to hang with it. She scored 9 in the second half, finished with 9. To help propel her team to victory. Peyton Mengi actually led the way. She's a lot of fun to watch shoot the basketball. She had 4 threes in that game, 12 points for Peyton to lead the way for Columbia. So nice win for the Raiders. Again, they're off to a 7-0 start. 4-0 in conference play. Sticking with the girls here, the North Ridgeville Lady Rangers, they were down 11 in the fourth quarter late last week against Avon. They found a way to come back and win. 48-46 was the final score there. Sophomore Reina Balderas for the Rangers had a go-ahead layup in the final couple of seconds. So really nice win for Coach Amy Esser and her girls. Grace Kingery, obviously we've talked about her a lot in the last couple of years, the Ball State commit. She's, obviously a tremendous basketball player, but she had her struggles in that game against Avon. Still managed to score 20, but it wasn't the most efficient 20. So shout out to Grace for hanging with it and finding a way to still contribute despite some shooting struggles in that one. And credit Avon and Coach Maggie Ferrando, a really good game plan they had against North Ridgeville. Again, obviously they came up a little short, but Avon, a team to watch out for in the SWC this year on the girls' side. And speaking of girls' teams in the SWC, just talked about North Ridgeville and Avon. How about Avon Lake and head coach Paul Apple? They're off to a 7-1 start. Folks, this was a team that won 6 games 2 years ago. Obviously, last year they took a big step forward, but now they're at 7 wins already, so obviously just tremendous strides being made with that Avon Lake program now under head coach Paul Apple. And it's really a team-wide effort, guys. I mean, Olivia Tobin, a great year. She's leading the team right now, averaging just over 9 points per game. But it's not just her, obviously, getting things done. You look at a girl like Claire Springer as well. She's averaging over 6 a game, leading the team in rebounding. Izzy Palenko figures to be a top scorer in the coming weeks and months. And then Marissa Summerfield and Olivia Miller kind of rounding out that starting 5. They are all contributing night in and night out. In their first 8 games, they've had 5 different leading scorers in those 8 games. So kind of incredible when you think about just, again, a team-wide effort, everybody contributing, a different girl on each night stepping up. Makes you hard to defend, and they're playing defense as well. So Paul Apple and his Shore Gals playing some really good basketball here to start the year. They've got a tough non-conference slate coming up. Walsh Jesuit, Warren Harding, St. Vincent St. Mary in there, and then they got a tough conference matchup with Amherst. So Avon Lake, a team to watch out for this year in the SWC, no question about that. So there's about the last week or so on the high school hoops front. Here's what's coming up. On WEOL Thursday night, we'll be at the Street Ball Classic at Sandusky as Lorraine takes on Toledo Whitmer. Now, we have the bowl game, Ohio State and Missouri, on Friday night, so we'll see if we're able to get Lorraine on the following night, depending on what they do in that game Thursday night against Toledo Whitmer. But we may have Lorraine on Friday night as well, but we certainly have them on Thursday night, 6 o'clock, Lorraine taking on Toledo Whitmer at Sandusky High School in the Streak Ball Classic. And then Saturday, we get things started with the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show, and then it's the annual Joe Tate Classic at Cloverleaf High School. This is always a fantastic event, raising money for the Joe Tate Scholarship, of course, over at Cloverleaf. It's a doubleheader. First at 6 o'clock, the girls, Cornerstone Christian at Cloverleaf. Again, a 6 o'clock girls game on WEOL this Saturday night. And then at 7:30, the boys do it as well as Cloverleaf welcomes in Firelands on the boys' side. Again, 6 Cornerstone Christian and Cloverleaf girls, and then at 7:30, Cloverleaf boys taking on Firelands. Both games can be heard live, of course, on WEOL, as we do every year at the Joe Tate Classic. So there's kind of a look at what's coming up this weekend on WEOL as well. So for Kristen Bauer behind the camera, I'm Rocco Nucci saying thank you for watching another episode of In the Paint, brought to you by our friends at First Federal Savings of Lorraine. And from all of us here at the Chronicle and WEOL, we wish you a Happy New Year.